Welcome back to Katawa Shoujo once again. So this is the special little between episode where we're going to be watching Hanako's other endings, and I know I sure don't want to, because I really liked Hanako. I don't think I talked about it too much in my last episode, actually. I like briefly talked about it for like 5 seconds. Um, so Hanako, I think she was cute, she was great, very nice, definitely top tier waifu. Um, Maybe that's why I didn't talk too much about it. There's not too much to say. Sao's just bad at this, and Aniko was a sweetheart. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch Hanako's other endings, and we're going to be torn to shreds because of how sad that's gonna make us. I don't know how to auto mode, skip mode. I don't know if this is exactly what we should do. There's maybe text history. I don't know. I figured there was an easier way to do this. Maybe not. I'm just gonna do it like this. So while this is happening, we'll just give it a brief little, what's the word? Thought, I guess. So after we do this, we're just gonna do everything in Act 1 the same, just because, that's just how it is, right? I don't know how to, okay. Look at Hanako in the back there. Anyway. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just use a guide for the choices from now on, just so we can, get to the girls that we want to get to. Sorry, the bells are gonna go off. Hold on. Actually, can we, we're just gonna turn down the music for now. I wonder if that counts as a sound effect. Maybe it does. Anyway, we're gonna use some guides to get to the girls that we want, and then we're just gonna go off, right? So I'm thinking the route we're gonna take is next route we're gonna go with either Rin or Emi, and then Shizune, because if we go to Lily right away, it's like we're already hanging out with Lily and Hanako, and that's weird. And then like we'll do whoever, and then whatever. So Shizune's good for the middle because she's obviously just with Misha, and that's their whole thing. And then, sorry, it was a sound effect volume. We're just gonna. There we go. So I'm thinking we go to Rin next time because I have already played through the first half of Rin's. Yeah. So it's just something, just so I can actually finish that for my own closure. And, that way the rest of the game itself will be nice and fresh, and I won't have to bring that back, Oh, Hanako. Just that way I won't have to get, that way, in the 5th playthrough to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, I knew this already. So I'm just going to be doing that next. Just because it's easier. She was definitely cute. I'm saying a lot, I'm sorry. So yeah, I think next we're going to go to Rin, and then we're going to go to Shizune, and then Lily. And then, yeah, and then Lily, and then Emi, which I think is a good path. Anyway, let's just skip to the good part. Great, now we're here. So this is the deciding path. This was the very last decision I think we had to make. And this is the difference between the good ending and the neutral ending. And the neutral ending, I'm assuming, just means that it's not, life ending, but we don't get the girl either. I don't know what it means, but this is the difference here. I listened carefully to what Lily has to say, but I can't bring myself to agree with her. I want to be with Hanako more. I want to be a better friend to her, to support her when she needs the support, and be there when she needs people. I think now is one of those times. The memory of the store owner we met in town together still puts me off. Anyone who takes even the slightest glance at Hanako ends up staring. To fault them for would be completely hypocritical, given my own reaction. I don't like my own scarring either, but at least I can cover it up with something as simple as a shirt. Can't imagine my life every day where I'd be spending trying to hide myself as much as possible. And on top of that, Hanako doesn't even have people around her that would support her no matter what she looks like. I live far away from my parents, and I still can't contact them. But I can still contact and visit them when I wish. I'm all over the best course of action in my head and find myself trying to verbally agree with Lily as softly as I ambivalently can. We make some small talk afterwards, but the both of us don't really have much to stomach. My light turned off. We make some small talk afterwards, but the both of us don't really have much to stomach for it in light of recent events. We say our goodbyes before I hang up. There's at least one thing I can do for Hanako. If I make this small gesture for her, I hope that she allows me to come a little bit closer to her. After talking to Lily and the end of the school day, sorry, I think there's music, it's just really quiet. I turned it back up, yeah. After talking to Lily at the end of the school day, I sat at my desk and looked out the window, idly watching students leaving the school building. Usually they left in groups, but even when they left alone, they'd say goodbye to their friends first. It's completely normal. Something I would have missed completely had it been there the other day, but because it's so mundane. But it's also something Hanako has never had in the time that I've known her. As I stand outside of Hanako's door for the second time in many days, that fact doesn't leave my mind. I hold 2 plates in my hands. On each is not exactly the most hearty of meals, but I want to be sure that Hanako is at least feeding herself. It may also be a way to gain a little leverage in getting her to let me in. Lily and I have tried our best to be there for her. Ever since she broke down in class, I dearly wanted to protect Hanako. Such a thing happening to her again, or even something worse, is something that I don't want to think about. The door gives a solid series of thuds as I knock on it, carefully propping up one plate on my other arm. I doubt Hanako will open it for me, so I can really just hope to accomplish is to attract her attention. Evening, Hanako. It's just me. I pause for a moment to see if she will respond, but the fact is that she isn't very surprising. I have food for the both of us. Could I come in? What feels like a very long time, some muffled voices from the floor below are the only sound to be heard. Then I can hear the sound of bare feet on the floor coming up to the door. I have to stifle a sigh of relief as I hear the door lock being worked. When Hanako opens the door, I look at her intently. She looks up momentarily to the plate in my left hand. It's a modest curry dish I quickly made from a packet. Her eyes move to the plate to my right hand, which holds the same thing, before looking down again. As she shuffles back into her room, I realize that I haven't said a word to her. I glumly follow her in, slightly embarrassed by having been so wrapped up in observing her. More than ever, the gray, stark atmosphere of Hanako's room feels like a reflection of her personality. The voices from outside completely inaudible, and the silence inside oppressive once I open the door. Walking to the far end of the room, I place 2 plates on her desk. I'm thankful that she let me in, but as I turn to face her, I can't help have second thoughts about coming to see her. I don't believe Lily was right, though. Looking at Hanako like this, I can only think that giving her space is the last thing we should be doing. I don't want to imagine it, but she might do something very foolish. It's just an instant meal, but it should be filling. I take my plate in my hand, offering it to her. She wordlessly takes it and sits on the side of her bed. Take a seat in her chair. The familiar sound of eating rings in the room as we dig in with the forks we've stuck into the rice. Curry itself tastes okay. I wouldn't expect much more from a packet whose brand I didn't recognize, so it's not being horrible is at least something. Eating takes the edge off the fact that she isn't talking. Neither of us really likes to talk while we're eating. This reminds me of the lunch times we so often spent together. It's kind of nice, eating together like this. Hanako looks at me quizzically. It's at least a better expression than what she's been wearing thus far. We became friends mainly over sharing lunch breaks, so it's nice to go back to those times a bit. She hesitates for a couple of seconds, and I find myself grimacing. Did I say something wrong? Oh no. Eventually she smiles and nods. I would normally be encouraged by this, but her smile looks strange. I can't quite put my finger on why. Everything's the same as before, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. You've still got Lily and me to help and protect you, and when she gets back, everything will be like she never left. So, man, because we've seen the good ending, we know how bad this line is. But if we hadn't, this would have just been like yeah, we're protecting you, right? That's crazy. That feels so bad. She hates that. Yeah, Hanako nods again, her expression remaining exactly the same as before. She feels like a different Hanako from the one I'd first seen when I entered her room. It's vaguely off-putting. Both of us go back to finishing off our dinners, and after a short exchange, despite Hanako looking happier than before, my eyes keep flickering to her as if to reassure myself of this fact. Before long, the last of Hanako's curry is cleared. I finish the last of mine. She puts the empty plate on the desk and places my own empty plate and used fork on top of hers. I briefly wonder what I should say, desperately wanting to avoid another awkward silence and the prospect of leaving her room after such short a time. But Hanako is the one to speak up first. I was wondering, since you're here. She quickly goes to one of her drawers after a minute of fussing around and pulls out her chessboard. Would you like to play? This time, I can't stifle the sigh of relief that escapes my lips. Jesus. I hastily agree, and Hanako promptly busies herself setting up while I get off the chair and take a seat on her bed. Once again, Hanako is willing to let... Have you ever played chess on a bed? That shit sucks, because if the board isn't good, like you move and the pieces like fall, it sucks. Once again, Hanako is willing to let me into her world, with so simple a gesture as the game shared between us. I guess I was just winding myself up for no reason. After the board is laid down on the bed between us, we've finished placing our respective pieces on it. Throughout our friendship, we've never exchanged that many words. When we're like this, though, I see that perhaps we never really needed to. Just a simple book or board or meal between us is enough to bridge the distance. I make the first move just as I've always done. This is the way our friendship was, and this is the way it probably always will be. Something definitely feels different about her, though. I can't quite grasp about what it is. I look at Hanako intently, but I can't work out anything from her expression. As physically close as we may be, it feels like we're further apart than ever. Hanako is a fragile person, though, and I would never want to hurt her. That was also the way things always were, and the way things always between us will probably be. That feels so sad. It's just after you watch the good ending, it just feels like, damn, neither of them got what they wanted or deserved. Because, like, in Hisao's mind, he's like, yeah, I'm doing great. She's going to be protected. We're going to get Lily back. Everything's going to be good. But in her mind, she didn't want that. She wanted to be loved. That sucks.